The movie opens with the main character falling into a deep area of the maze. Hajime intends to find a way out of the maze, but discovers a rabbit-like monster. At first Hajime underestimated it because of its appearance, but the rabbit took down a wolf many times bigger than itself with just one hit. Before being attacked, another monster appeared. After it killed the rabbit, it turned to attack Hajime. Unexpectedly, when it severed Hajime's arm, it casually picked it up and ate it. Hajime continuously used transformation skills, creating a layer of stone shield. Outside above him, a divine crystal had crystallized from mana over millennia. Previously, Hajime had always focused on knowledge since he couldn't fight. Later, everyone was gathered with the army to prepare to enter the maze. While moving, a clueless young man in the group went off alone to get the mana crystal. Unexpectedly, when he touched the crystal, they were all transported deeper. In front of them appeared a boss from level 65, so everyone tried to retreat before their teammates were attacked. Hajime proactively used his skill to block the monster. Everyone continuously used ranged magic to prevent the monster from chasing them. Hajime was trying to run towards everyone when a magic attack from that AI targeted him directly. The attack clearly targeted him intentionally, but it was unclear who it was. This was the time when they had not yet entered the maze to conquer it. Kagami had a terrible dream there. She couldn't find Hajime. He knew he wasn't suited for fighting, but everyone around was still supporting him. Instead of lying still and waiting to die, Hajime would stand up. If the AI gets in the way, then kill them all. Hajime tried to drink some water and then look for a monster to fill his stomach. After that, he set a trap and lured them to fall into it. Just as Hajime took a bite of the monster's flesh, he felt something change within his body. He thought he would die there, but unexpectedly, his hair color changed and the pain disappeared. It seemed that eating monster flesh helped him level up and learn their skills. Thanks to being able to see the stats of objects, he could create weapons with the knowledge he learned. Hajime created many modern weapons. If he had a handgun combined with acceleration skills, the firing speed increased significantly. The monster that had previously scared Hajime could now be taken down with just one shot. Just by eating the flesh of monsters he had never eaten before, his stats would increase. With his current stats, Hajime would seek out the previous monster and eat its arm for revenge. He threw a stun grenade and used his gun to shoot off its arm. After eating its arm, Hajime used lightning skills to slow its movements and delivered a finishing blow. You'll try to find a way back. If any AI gets in your way, take them out. Episode 2 says the dungeon has 100 floors, but Hajime doesn't know where he island. After moving into a dark area, he encounters a monster with petrification skills. Just as the monster approaches, Hajime uses a stun grenade and then takes it down with his gun. Hajime continues to move deeper, hoping to find a way out of the dungeon. Meanwhile, the heroes and soldiers are reporting everything to the king. They accidentally triggered a trap and were sent down to floor 65 where humans can tread. As for the rumor about a hero chosen by the gods being dead, the king wants to keep that under wraps. Gao Ji still blames himself for not saving Hajime. At that moment he rushed forward to save everyone only to fall down. Gao Di tried to chase after him, but the army commander knocked her out to retreat. At this point, Gao Di has also woken up after 5 days since everyone conquered the maze. She keeps asking about Hajime, but seems unable to do anything more. Right now, Hajime is still moving deeper but doesn't know where he's gone. From what he remembers, he has gone down more than 50 floors since falling here. Hajime discovers a strange door ahead. Perhaps the answer lies inside. As soon as Hajime touches the door, a seal activates, and 2 giant monsters beside the door spring to attack him. He can easily take down one, but the other has strong defenses. The monster's weak point is its eye, but it keeps guarding that spot. Hajime keeps attacking until he finally takes it down. The mana gem within their bodies is the key to opening the door. Unexpectedly, inside is a girl trapped in a square box. Although she asks for help, Hajime isn't about to rescue a stranger he just met. Initially, Hajime doesn't intend to help, but when he hears she was betrayed, he starts to listen. Hajime wants to know why she was betrayed in Sao and locked up here. She is a powerful vampire, who always works hard to protect her clan. One day the clan leaders said she was no longer needed, but since they couldn't kill her, they locked her up here. Even a minor wound heals instantly and she can manipulate natural mana. The seal seems a bit strong, but he can still break it now. After being rescued, she wants Hajime to give her a new name. After thinking for a moment, Hajime decides to name her Jue based on the moon. While both are feeling emotional, they are suddenly attacked from above. In episode 3, they surprisingly prepared a monster in case Jue escaped the seal. Hajime proactively lent Jue his coat, yet she still called him a pervert. After that, Hajime carried Jue on his back while fighting the monster in front of him. It seems that its outer shell is quite tough. Even bullets can't do anything to it. While he was unsure how to deal with its shell, Jue suddenly bit into his neck. Jue drained Hajime's blood to replenish her mana, then activated her magic. However, the amount of mana was only enough for her to use high-level magic twice. As soon as he signaled, he wanted Jue to use magic to attack the injured spot. Jue's attack shattered its outer shell, and Hajime took the opportunity to bring it down. Jue wondered why Hajime didn't leave her behind to escape, but since she had been betrayed before and entrusted her safety to him, how could he abandon her? From what Hajime knows, Makar the dragon defeated in the war 300 years ago. He intended to mention Jua's age, but she made a sulky face. The labyrinth was created by the Mavericks, the supreme beings who rose against God. They intended to destroy this world, but since their plan failed, they sought refuge in their labyrinth. It's highly likely that the Mavericks are at the bottom of each labyrinth they created. Taking advantage of his free time, Hajime created another weapon, a rifle made from a special material with high lethality. Suddenly, Jue wondered why Hajime was down here. Why can they control mana and eat monster flesh here? The story is quite long, so along the way, Hajime recounted each detail. Hajime and everyone were summoned by the goddess to save the world. However, he possessed a skill unsuitable for combat and was viewed as useless. After that, everyone in the army coordinated to conquer this labyrinth. During a battle with the boss on the 65th floor, he was betrayed by someone in his class and was knocked down here. A monster bit off his arm, but he didn't give up and continued to fight. After hearing the whole story, Jue couldn't hold back her tears. Now he no longer cares about his classmates and just wants to become stronger to survive. After hearing Hajime plan to return to his old home, she felt a bit sad. If Jue has no home to return to, she could go with Hajime to his place. It's pretty dull there since people don't have magic. If Jue wants, they can go together. At this moment, Hajime had to carry Jue. While trying to escape from the monsters, no matter how many he killed, they kept appearing. Moreover, there was a strange flower on his head. It seemed that the previous flowers were parasites controlling the monsters. If they don't kill the mastermind controlling the monsters, they won't stop. While Hajime was trying to find the monster, Jue kept draining his blood. As soon as they entered a cave, strange things started appearing around them. Suddenly, Jue cast a spell to attack. It seemed like she was being controlled by the monster. Only when Hajime was hit by the spell did the leading monster appear. It was not only careful but also used Joe as a shield to attack Hajime without fear of counterattack. Joe couldn't stand seeing Hajime getting hit, so she told him to attack freely. As soon as Hajime heard that from Joe, he didn't hesitate to attack. Ju was stunned for a few seconds because she didn't expect Hajime to shoot without any hesitation. In fact, he could shoot it, but he was afraid she would get angry if he didn't say anything. Ju angrily rushed to hit Hajime, but it didn't seem to hurt much. Vampires like Ju don't need to eat like humans, but they require nutrition from blood. Someone with strong mana like Hajime is very nutritious for her. After a while, moving through the maze, they reached the final panel. Just looking at a magnificent door like this is enough to know that a boss is waiting behind the door in episode 4. As soon as they passed through the door, a huge monster appeared. Each head could use different elements. The one with the white head possessed healing abilities. If they didn't defeat it first, the other heads would continue to attack. Although Hajime and Ju deliberately attacked, the other head actively blocked the blow. Unexpectedly, among them was one that could use magic to put targets into illusions. Hajime tried to get Ju out of the attack zone and handed her a grenade. She was very scared when she saw the days of being sealed. Alone for 300 years, suddenly Hajime took the initiative to kiss her and said they would defeat it and leave. Thanks to the kiss from Hajime, Ju was able to calm down to fight. Hajime decided to use the new gun and asked Joe for support during the preparation. The monster before intended to use illusion magic, but Joe was now not easy to defeat. At this moment, Hajime used the rifle to shoot straight at the white monster. Next, Joe used high-level magic to destroy the remaining heads. Just when they thought everything was over, the white head was still alive. It attacked straight at Joe, but Hajime intervened, causing him to get seriously injured. Ju tried to get Hajime to a safe place and continuously used her mouth to give him medicine. After using up all the recovery medicine, Ju went out to fight the monster alone. Before the monster could deliver the finishing blow, Hajime timely saved Ju. Hajime told Ju to drink his blood to replenish her mana because he needed her magic. Now Ju just needs to focus on recovering mana, and when the order comes, use magic to attack. Hajime deliberately shot at the ceiling and continuously placed grenades up there. With just one shot, the grenades will explode, causing the entire ceiling to collapse onto the monster. After that, Hajime used transformation magic to control them, allowing Ju to deliver the final blow. It seems that both Hajime and Ju are drained of mana, so they rest in place. At the same time, the students are once again sent by the king into the battle maze. The teacher, for the safety of the students, tried to talk to the king, but his decision remained unchanged, insisting she take on a role that suited her abilities. Kazu is still worried about having let Hajime fall below. Koki possesses the abilities of a hero, and wants everyone to stand up and fight. When he woke up, Hajime was surprised to find himself lying in bed. His hand felt soft and he realized Ju was lying next to him. Since he couldn't wake her up, he used magic to awaken Ju after the boss was defeated. The door leading to this place opened. Ju had tried to help Hajime onto the bed and used holy water to recover his body. Hajime wondered why both of them naked. He found out she had bathed him. The way she licked her lips confirmed that Ju must have done something while Hajime was still unconscious. Although there was no sun, it was still very bright here. Ju checked around and found several rooms that couldn't be entered. Inside was a fairly large pond, so Hajime wanted to bathe alone before going to explore. After a while moving, they reached the room of the dungeon master. The circle on the floor below is what helps everyone ascend to the surface. As soon as Hajime stepped into the circle, the image of the dungeon creator appeared. The image and voice in front were just a recording, so it could not answer any questions. The other students have now reached floor 65, a place where humans could previously set foot. It seems that even if the monsters in the dungeon are defeated, they still resurrect. Before entering here, they had continuously leveled up themselves, so they no longer feared it. Gao Ji was also no longer afraid when facing it because she didn't want to lose any more friends. After a while coordinating their battle, they managed to defeat the boss on floor 65. Everyone was very happy because it was the first time they could step down to a deeper level. Returning to the present, Hajime was granted knowledge and power by the dungeon master to use as he wished, but hoped he would not use it for evil purposes. After the image disappeared, Hajime felt that there were many things imprinted in his mind. Even with the power of the dungeon master, Hajime's goal remained unchanged. It seems that Hajime has learned an ancient magic that can change matter. To be able to teleport to the surface, the ring of the dungeon master is required. Hajime took it before burying his body. According to the notes, if you clear another dungeon you'll gain the power of the Great One. Hajime will try to conquer other dungeons to find a way back home. Thanks to the dungeon master's ring, Hajime can enter sealed rooms. He wants to stay here for a while to prepare many things. Hajime planned to take a shower, but unexpectedly Ju walked in. Previously he said he would shower alone, but he didn't expect Ju to come in not wearing anything at all. Hajime kept telling her to go outside thinking he was disliked, but after knowing she was his type, Ju showed him everything. Time passed and Hajime and Ju stayed in the dungeon to craft many new things. Hajime also made a ring for Ju, but she wanted him to wear it. Everything necessary was ready, so they both began to move to the surface. No matter what happens, they will stick together to defeat every enemy in their way. Episode 6, there is a rabbit girl waiting for someone outside the valley. The one she was waiting for is nowhere to be seen, only monsters appearing. As she tried to climb higher, a magic circle appeared and the monster was blown away, running off knowing it couldn't win. It seems Hajime and Ju are the ones she has been waiting for all this time out here. When Hajime was about to confess to Ju, a rabbit girl ran over to them feeling trouble was about to follow, so they pretended not to see anything and left. However, she still shamelessly followed Hajime to ask for help for her family from danger. She also didn't dare let go of Hajime's leg because she knew she would be kicked aside. Just then, a monster appeared growling in front of everyone. If it doesn't want to live, Hajime won't hesitate to send it to another world. Even though Hajime had aimed his gun at her, she still wouldn't let go just because she wanted to save her family. Just having accepted to help, she dared to wipe her face with his shirt. When Hajime praised Ju as the most beautiful, Sia realized she had something superior. Hajime turning his face away when Sia flaunted her assets definitely confirmed it. Ju was feeling unhappy when others called her flat. Sia had been exiled from her clan and then attacked by monsters. Monsters usually can't use mana, but for some reason in SAO she could use it. Besides, she possesses the Eye of Heaven which can predict a branch of the future. That's why she knows Hajime and Ju are here waiting for help. Currently, Sia also knows they're heading to the giant tree in Hasina shrouded in thick fog. Ju told Hajime to let Sia come along because having a guide would be better. After a day of traveling, they all arrived at the place where Sia's clan lived. Hajime threw Sia up high to lure the monsters and then used his gun to take them down. She never expected that being this beautiful would make her treated like bait for monsters. Since Sia can use mana, her fate will be to be killed by another monster. The people present in this forest accepted her and abandoned their own race. Thanks to Hajime's help, Sia's clan was allowed to stay in the forest by other tribes. Hajime didn't need to thank her because Sia promised to lead everyone to the great tree. Sia wanted to join Hajime and Ju on their journey but both rejected her. The next morning, everyone wanted training to become stronger. However, they didn't dare to kill a small beast even jumping around at the sight of flowers. Hajime angrily stated that anyone who couldn't kill a monster would die. Sia was specially trained by Ju sparring with each other. Even though Sia tried to attack continuously, she was still defeated by Ju. However, being able to slightly injure, Ju was considered a talent. When Hajime showed up, she expressed her desire to join the journey, but her real reason was simple. She wanted to be by Hajime's side. Sia felt a bit strange because her father's attitude and that of the others had changed. They no longer felt pity for the small animals and wiped them out completely. At this moment, Hajime was led by everyone to the great tree in the middle of the forest. Although the great tree was dead, it still stood here unchanged throughout the year. Hajime placed the ring on a stone in front of him and a line of text appeared. It seems Hajime needed to conquer other dungeons to collect enough items to unlock this gate. This also means everyone will go conquer other dungeons together. It seems that after the last battle, Ju promised that Sia could join them. If she got hit, Hajime would accept her joining, but not respond about being beside him. It seems that no matter how much advice she gets, this rabbit still wants to go. According to episode 7, everyone had moved to a canyon because there was an entrance to the maze in this area. While Sia was looking for a place to deal with her sadness, she accidentally found the entrance to the maze. Unexpectedly, Sia wandering around found the entrance to the maze. It seems the owner of this dungeon really enjoys playing with AIs trying to conquer the maze. Sia used Hajime's weapon to smash the stone in front of her. However, everything inside the maze, even if destroyed, would restore after a while. While moving, Hajime accidentally triggered a trap activation mechanism. It seems that magic cannot be used in this area, so Sia used enhancement power to destroy the trap. They kept moving, not seeing any monsters, only traps that were annoying to others. Unexpectedly, after moving for a whole session, they ended up back where they started. At the same time, the students were discussing going with the teacher to another location. Knowing he doesn't have skills like others, Zuka still wants to do something. They still think Hajime is dead because he doesn't know how to fight and rushes outside. However, they have survived until now, thanks to Hajime's support. Zuka can't fight like the others, but at least he protects the teacher. At this moment, Hajime moved to a room surrounded by many suits of armor. Hajime then told Sia to fight the suits of armor. If there's danger, both would intervene. They coordinated to take down the enemies in front of them to move to another room. Unexpectedly, the girl has an annoying voice. Another giant suit of armor. Just looking at the surrounding space is enough to tell that the one in front is the final boss. Miley is the mistress of the dungeon and asks Hajime about the purpose of collecting 10 ancient magic spells. Hajime's only goal is to find the power to travel between worlds. He's not the type to bet his life for this world. Hajime answered her question, but the opponent didn't, so the battle began. Unexpectedly, the armor is made from an ultra-hard material that can't be destroyed by handguns. Next to the ultra-hard armor, Milady can control cubes to attack. After dodging an attack, Hajime and Zhu coordinated to control the opponent's movements. Hajime also knows that the drill can't break through the armor, but if someone has enhancement abilities like Sia, it could penetrate deeper. After defeating the enemy, Zhu patted Sia's head to encourage her. Milady still held onto a bit of power to talk to Hajime. One day, he will become a god of death and fight those evil beings. She believes that Hajime's decision will be safer for this world than those others. After an emotional conversation, unexpectedly, she's still alive. Grimacing at everyone's serious faces, Milady definitely can't avoid getting hit. The ancient magic of this dungeon is gravity magic, but Hajime and Sia aren't at the level to use it yet. In contrast, Zhu is completely suited for it. With hard practice, she could use it. Before leaving, Hajime even tried to rob money, so Milady had to force him to leave the maze. While being taken outside, Sia choked on water after seeing a talking fish. It seems Sia isn't breathing anymore, so Hajime performed artificial respiration. Zhu standing outside was shocked to see Hajime kiss another girl. Hajime didn't expect this girl to intentionally stick her tongue out at him when she woke up. After that, they all moved into town to rent a room for the night. Unexpectedly, Zhu and Sia. They argued over who would sleep next to Hajime, and Sia even said that if she got to share a bed she would let Hajime take her virginity. The people around and the receptionist were stunned for a few seconds upon hearing that. Hajime had no choice but to use his gun to shut Sia up. Episode 8. This is the page of the head of the adventure club. He heard that a group of 3 easily crossed the dangerous ravine, so he believed their skills matched the upcoming requirements. If Hajime accepted, he would handle all paperwork related to adventurers. Hajime's mission was to move to the northern mountains to rescue the 3rd child of the Count. The Count's son had gone adventuring with a very skilled group, so if there was something they couldn't handle, it would definitely be strong. Count, being his friend, wanted Hajime to go rescue the Count's child. Initially, Hajime refused, but the club president kept persuading him. After that, Hajime accepted with 2 conditions. The first was to provide a status board, and the second was a request. So today, Hajime and his teammates moved to the northern mountains. Hajime left early because they would pass by the rice fields, which were an important part of his hometown's food, and he hadn't eaten it since coming here. At the same time, the teacher and a few other students arrived at an agricultural support town to ensure everyone's safety. The king also sent a few soldiers along for protection. The dishes on the table were the last spices the shop had because they were running low on ingredients. Rumor has it that monsters have appeared on the mountain, so merchants can't receive new spices. Recently, several high-level adventurers went to the mountain and never returned. Fortunately, another group of adventurers was sent here by the club president. Just then, Hajime and the other 2 arrived at the inn, and they were the group mentioned by the club president. The conversation between Hajime and his teammates caught everyone's attention towards the teacher. Just hearing the voice was enough to recognize. Hajime was the student who fell into the dungeon. Hajime calling her teacher in Japanese was unmistakable. Although Hajime tried to pretend not to know her, he still lost to the teacher's stubbornness. Even though Hajime admitted it, he didn't want to answer the question. After asking the 2 girls beside him, both claimed to belong to Hajime. He immediately corrected himself because Zhu was real while Sia was just self-proclaiming. Saya made a pitiful face when denied because the two had kissed each other earlier. The teacher didn't expect Hajime to steal her daughter's first kiss and also play both sides. Just then the army captain came to cause trouble, even calling Sia a disgusting beastman. Even when looked at by Ju, he showed discomfort and kept badmouthing. The moment that guy was about to draw his sword, Hajime fired a warning shot. If he acted like that again, Hajime wouldn't hesitate to send him flying. None of them expected Hajime not only to look different but also to have a completely different personality unlike before. Hajime was gentle and kind, but now he's a bit wild and flirtatious. Hajime declared that he didn't want anything to do with AI. If they got in his way, he would eliminate them all. Sia was still worried about what happened earlier because she didn't expect humans to hate beastmen. It was surprising that Ju mentioned how Hajime had petted Sia's ears while she was sleeping. That night, Hajime sneaked into the room to talk. Hajime would explain his reasons for not wanting to return to the way things were before. Gods were the masterminds behind the scenes controlling the races to fight each other. At that time, some heroes had appeared uniting to stand up against them. However, their plans fell apart before they could fight the enemy. The gods declared that the liberators were the enemies of the church. They couldn't fight those they swore to protect, so they had to retreat. After that, they created dungeons to test the AI. Those AIs who passed would receive power from them. Hajime wasn't interested in this world. He just wanted to find a way home. Naozi still didn't believe Hajime was dead unless she saw it with her own eyes. Currently, Kushi was still training and fighting with everyone in the labyrinth. Hajime advised the teacher to remind Kushi that besides fighting monsters, he should also be wary of something called friends. It seems everyone thought he fell due to an accident, but in reality someone attacked him on purpose. The next morning, Hajime moved up the mountain, not expecting the teacher and other classmates to want to join in. The teacher wanted to hear more about Hajime and promised to keep it a secret. After that, Hajime summoned a vehicle large enough for everyone to travel up the mountain together. Currently, they were still moving toward the northern mountain. Aiko had helped Hajime quite a bit before, so this was the least he could do for her. Ju seemed to be jealous and wanted to sit next to Hajime on the way back. After arriving, Hajime used tracking devices to search around. Inside, there was a crystal connected to his eye. On the other side, there were signs of a battle, so they went to check it out. Based on the footprints, they definitely fought against a giant four-legged monster. He continued to move higher and detected signals of a surviving human. Dewey used magic to split the waterfall, revealing a cave. Inside, unexpectedly, was the third son of the previous lord, the person he was tasked to find. While they were fighting the monsters, a black dragon appeared. In an instant, everyone was wiped out and only he was left alive. Instead of blaming himself, he should try to live to prove he's still valuable. As they planned to move down the mountain, the black dragon appeared unexpectedly. Hajime tried to gather everyone in one place and used his shield to block the attack. Ju used high-level magic to bring the dragon down for easier access. Xiao was about to jump into the fight but was knocked back by the dragon. It seemed the dragon was targeting the count's son, so Hajime asked Ju to protect him. Hajime also asked the teacher to take the students elsewhere since they were just in the way. If the dragon wouldn't focus on the fight, then Hajime had to get serious. Hajime summoned a rifle and shot at the dragon's wings, making it think it couldn't fly anymore. After that, Hajime kept shooting and throwing grenades at the dragon. He intended to use the drill to strike straight at its heart, but it still had some fight left. Hajime heard there were strong monsters on the mountain, but he didn't expect them to be this strong. The dragon had a very hard scale, so Hajime used a stick to stab it from below. He was surprised that this dragon could talk and claimed to be the leader of the dragonkin. Before explaining everything, she wanted Hajime to pull the large iron out of her rear. If she returned to her human form with that iron still there, it would be a problem. The girl standing nearby watching the large iron could feel the pain for her. She had moved from her village to investigate the hero in another world. On her way, she took a nap and unexpectedly got attacked by bad people. A man in a black cloak used a mind control spell and ordered the target to be eliminated. Even if she was a dragonkin, she couldn't resist when the spell was continuously cast. One day, the count's son didn't believe it was true and thought she was lying. However, Ju believed her because dragonkin are a noble and honest race. In fact, she swore on her pride that she would never lie. Ju knew exactly what a liar's eyes looked like. She was very surprised to find out that Ju was from a vampire clan and even a princess of theirs. The dragon will atone for its sins, but that's after stopping the cloaked guy who was gathering many kinds of monsters to form an army to attack the city. Initially, Hajime intended to kill the dragon, but Ju spoke up so he stopped. First, the dragon wanted Hajime to pull the huge iron rod out of its butt. Is there any girl who can survive with such a big stick stabbed from behind? After the rod was pulled out, she transformed back into her human form. At this moment, Hajime sensed nearly 100,000 monsters approaching the town. At the current pace, they would reach the town in 2 days. Hajime's job is to safely escort the count's son not to fight monsters. Besides, Tio's way of speaking and reacting made Hajime a bit uncomfortable. The more Hajime curses or tortures her, the more she enjoys it. If he can't move on his own, he just needs to grab his leg and pull him back. Today's episode 10, the teacher and the town chief sat down to talk with Hajime's group. They hope that Hajime will take action to eliminate the monsters to protect the townspeople. The enemy has an entire army of monsters, so Hajime immediately started preparing what was necessary. Everyone worked together to create a barrier and evacuate the townspeople from the battlefield. After some time of preparation, the moment had finally come for the monsters to move towards the town. Sonobe, who was once saved by Hajime from the dungeon, proactively thanked him. Although it's unclear if it was intentional or accidental, she still wanted to thank Hajime. Unexpectedly, Tio was hiding behind him without bothering to conceal her presence. She kept asking Hajime if he had time but received no response. Hajime's deliberate silence made her feel a bit excited. It seems Tio wanted to join Hajime's journey but was rejected by him. Of course, Tio wouldn't participate for free. She would offer her body and call Hajime master. Although Tio's personality is a bit twisted, her strength would still be useful in battle. Just then, the monsters appeared on the battlefield. Hajime addressed the townspeople, stating that Eiko is the goddess of agriculture summoned here. He is the shield and power of Eiko, and has been asked to eliminate the monsters. Weapons and power he prepared represent the strength of the goddess of agriculture, but that's just why Hajime hides his true power for the future. Hajime summoned Ra, the weapon of equality, to prepare to fire at the monsters. Tio has borrowed a mana ring, thinking that Hajime proposed to her. After that, they all began to concentrate their firepower to attack the center of the monsters. High-level wide-area magic attacks were continuously unleashed, clearing the monsters in front of them. Since Tio kept using many high-level spells, her mana began to run low. The amount of ammunition Hajime used had also run out. Ju had enough mana to cast 2 more spells. After that, Hajime and Saya charged straight into the monsters. While Sia was still fighting them, Hajime went to find the leader. Hajime immediately killed the monster he was riding to cut off any escape route. At this moment, Hajime returned, and the one behind everything was his classmate. It seems this guy wanted to be recognized by others, so he didn't hesitate to team up with the demon race. The condition to gain power from the demon race was to kill the teacher. Who would have thought he spent time preparing over 10000 monsters and still lost? Taking advantage of the teacher being nearby, he controlled her to find a way to escape this place. Even though he requested all weapons to be surrendered, Hajime didn't like following others. Just as Sia rushed in to rescue Hajime shot at him. Unexpectedly, he used a poison needle to stab the teacher in the neck. The situation looked dire, so Hajime had no choice but to use his mouth to give her the medicine. The teacher wanted to save her student, but Hajime did not. He would kill all the enemies in his way. He wouldn't change his stance. Or is there really any compassion? Anyway, if Hajime didn't shoot, that guy would die in a few minutes. That attack was to protect Aiko's heart, so she wouldn't blame herself for her student's death. Episode 11. At this point, Hajime had brought the Count's son back and wanted to grant an additional status card. Saya mentioned the promise that if she worked hard, Hajime would take her to tour the town. However, Hajime was paying attention to the actions of the guys below. It seems there are some dark activities in the town. If they dare to interfere, then he would kill them all. When she was young, Tio was told by her father that everyone's enemy was God, a very powerful and wise person, but that didn't mean he was invincible. One day in the future, surely someone will possess the power to defeat even God. Sometime later, the Dragon Man sensed the presence of a hero. Tio volunteered to check because she didn't want this world to be attacked by beings from another world. She kept thinking about the dream without waking up, so Ju used ROI to wake her up. At the same time, Hajime fulfilled his promise to take Sia down to the town for a tour. When visiting the aquarium, Hajime and Sia discovered a talking fish. Unexpectedly, Hajime kept chatting with the fish instead of focusing on their date. Through the conversation, Hajime realized he was the reason the fish was caught here. Hajime didn't mention that but pretended to be a good person, helping the fish escape from there. Before leaving, the fish also mentioned that there was a beast girl being sold in the town. There was a group of slave traders operating in the town, so they warned Hajime's group. Tio asked Ju if it was okay to let Hajime go out with Sia. "I'm not mad at all. In fact, I'm happy that Sia and Hajime have gotten closer." On Hajime's side, Sia asked him if he was okay with Tio joining their group. Although her personality has changed a bit, she's not a bad person. Sensing the presence of that AI beneath the town, when they went down to check, they unexpectedly found a little girl drowning. They immediately took the girl to safety to care for her before she got sick. With his experience, Hajime is capable of taking care of a growing child. At this moment, Tio continued the topic between Hajime and Sia, wanting Hajime to find many things he values, but she must be special. If Sia thinks she can steal Hajime's heart, then she should just try and see the result. Tio doesn't care much. Just being tormented by Hajime every day is enough to make her happy. Through the conversation, this girl should be Miu, who was previously captured by some slave traders. Hajime decided to take Miu to the town protector to take care of her. However, just as they left, the place where Miu was sent was attacked by the slave traders. On the wall it said that if Hajime didn't bring Sia, they would kill Miu. If they want to be enemies, then he won't hesitate to fight. While searching for the slave trader's hideout, they encountered Joe and Tio. The town is quite large, so Hajime asked everyone for help while also planning to eliminate them. Afterwards, the four split into two teams to sweep the town, destroying small groups and finding their hideouts. At this point, Hajime found Mew in an auction house and killed the leader. As soon as he brought Mew outside, Ju used high-level magic to destroy the entire base. Hajime doesn't like Mew calling him Big Brother, so he told her to change how she addresses him. He thought she'd call him something simple, but unexpectedly she called him Dad. Although Hajime told Mew it was okay to call him Big Brother, she insisted on not changing it. If Hajime really wants to have children, then those three are already ready. Episode 12. At this point, they are moving to the next location. Hajime lent Sia a private vehicle for transportation, but her teasing actions made Hajime a bit uncomfortable. Driving while posing is a dangerous act and shouldn't be done. By this point, Hajime and the others had entered the town where he had previously fallen into the labyrinth. Just 4 months have passed, but this place has changed a lot. Afterwards, Hajime went to the Adventurers Guild to deliver a letter from another association, which noted his achievement of single-handedly defeating 100,000 monsters and dismantling a crime syndicate. At that moment, Hajime's old classmate ran in to report that Demon Kin had appeared. When he learned that Hajime was a high-ranking adventurer, Endo asked him to help rescue everyone. Previously, everyone had moved down to the 90th floor of the labyrinth together. There were no monsters around, just a girl from the demon tribe. She beckoned everyone towards the demon tribe. Anyone who dared to refuse didn't need to keep their life. At this moment, everyone was coordinating continuous attacks but achieving little. She stood by observing the battle. Any monster that died she revived. Endo was ordered to return to the town to find support. That's why Endo was here, and felt annoyed at Mew just sitting and eating. However, making Mew cry was enough for Hajime to annihilate. Seeing that reaction, Hajime probably viewed Mew as his own child. Back in the maze, everyone was still trying to fight the demon tribe. While activating the protective shield for everyone, one member was ambushed. As Endo moved to the surface area, there were no demons following the monsters. Endo's mission was to reach the surface to find strong people to assist. Unexpectedly, when falling into a difficult situation, some members intended to join the demon tribe. If they wanted to survive and leave this maze, the only way was to join them. The army captain was attacked unexpectedly by a monster while protecting the magic circle. Koki activated his limit-breaking skill in anger, attacking continuously. Just a stab down would take her out. But Koki stopped when he saw the picture. This is a battlefield. If you bring that weak emotion along, your teammates will die unjustly. Initially, Hajime didn't intend to help, but someone in that group had once cared for him. Everyone was still fighting to survive, but the monsters kept appearing. Before Kazu and Shizuku were attacked, the two monsters in front of them had been eliminated. Appearing before both was none other than Hajime, who had fallen into the dungeon 4 months ago. In episode 13, Hajime's group was led down to the dungeon by Enzo. Running like this would take a while, so he used a drill to make a straight hole down below. That's why the two monsters about to attack Kazu and Shizuku were eliminated. Just hearing Hajime's voice, Kazu could recognize the person she always missed. At that moment, Ju also caught up and used magic to safely shield everyone. Ju and Sia had the task of protecting and eliminating the surrounding monsters. Hajime kindly let the demon tribe leave, but she seemed eager to fight. Although the invisible monsters around were waiting for a chance to attack, Hajime had grasped their positions. 2 handguns in hand, Hajime could easily take them down. Just then, a large monster appeared. Before it could use magic, Hajime used his shield to redirect its trajectory towards her. After being injured, she realized the monster healing on her shoulder had been killed. Just throw a grenade into the turtle's mouth. The others were frozen for a few seconds when they realized the badass in front of them was Hajime. Not only did his appearance change, but so did his personality. This guy still couldn't believe Hajime was alive since he saw him fall into the abyss with his own eyes. Suddenly, Joe told him to calm down. Was he really planning to betray Hajime again? Monsters in front of him could be taken down easily with just one hit from Joe. She felt she couldn't beat Hajime, so she switched to another target. Hajime threw a sword to Shizuku to slice the snake into tiny pieces. As soon as she had the chance, she used her trump card to launch a surprise attack from above. Kazu heard the girl next to him call out Hajime's name. When she realized he was her father, she froze for a few seconds. She intended to take the chance to escape but didn't expect Hajime to block her. Hajime wanted to know why the demon race could summon monsters in SAO and what they were planning here. As long as she was uncooperative, Hajime would shoot her limbs without mercy. Even without speaking, he knew the demon's intentions clearly. The monsters were created from ancient magic, and the purpose of entering the dungeon was to reach the maze's end. Now that she had nothing of value left, Hajime eliminated her to avoid retaliation. After the battle ended, Hajime and Joe flirted with each other, ignoring their surroundings. Taoji cried because she couldn't protect Hajime at that time and was so glad he returned. If Hajime dared to hug Tao, Jiju felt unhappy in her heart. Right on their way back, Koki kept following and asking why Hajime killed the demon race. Hajime knew well that Koki wasn't mad because he killed the demons but because he couldn't take action himself. If enemies appear in front of you, what's wrong with killing them? He had no mercy. If you got in his way, he would kill everyone including his classmates. Hajime was here not for his friends, but because he owed a debt to Taoji. As soon as they left the dungeon, they had nothing to do with each other anymore. As soon as they reached the surface, Kushi proactively approached Hajime saying he wanted to join the journey. Kushi confessed his feelings, but Hajime rejected him. Knowing Ju was special to Hajime, Kaoji still wanted to be by his side. It seemed like Kaoji and Ju were fighting to see who loved Hajime more. After finishing their conversation, Kaoji asked whose child the girl calling him father was. If it wasn't one of the three of them, how many girls had he slept with? Tomorrow morning the group would set out early. If Kaji didn't want to be left behind, he should remember the meeting point. That night Shizuku returned the sword, but Hajime gifted her a sword made from rare materials. Although it was lightweight, it was extremely sharp. She will definitely keep it by her side and use it as part of herself. Ju and Kazu stood by thinking Shizuku was the final boss. She resolutely chased after Kazu but was stopped. Shizuku knew Kazu always had special feelings for Hajime. The next morning, Kazu ran to the meeting point to accompany Hajime. Taoji didn't understand why everyone had to sit in the back while Jue sat next to Hajime. It's always like this with everyone, but at some point they'll try to take this spot. Tio didn't care much about seating as long as she was tortured every day she was happy. Suddenly, Mew called Tio a seductive pig, leaving everyone wondering where she learned that. In Part 2 Episode 1, all the heroes safely returned to the kingdom after entering the ancient labyrinth, and recently, the demon tribe has been making moves so the kingdom needs the heroes' strength. The heroes were summoned here to protect the world, but there hasn't been a way to send them back yet. While the group of heroes went to conquer the dungeon, the second group was training in the kingdom. After the conversation, Princess Liliana learned that Cao Ji had followed Hajime. She said ever since Hajime saved her, her mood has been like this. Hajime was still alive when he fell into the dungeon, and his appearance had changed a lot. At this moment, Hajime and the others were crossing an area with many sandstorms. Without the vehicle made by Hajime, it would be hard to get through this place. Unexpectedly, Kazu and Jue started arguing about who would bear children for Hajime. Kazu wouldn't back down because she knew Hajime's preferences and now he was just like the main character. The weapons that Hajime made were mostly inspired by movies. Ju didn't want to lose to Kazu and claimed to know what Hajime liked most in bed. Mew immediately spoke up because she didn't like Jue and Kazu arguing. Just then a huge swarm of sandworms appeared in front of them. It seemed they had caught their prey but hesitated whether to eat or not. Hajime was trying to dodge the monsters while two mountains fell on his head. Even Kazu pressed her face against Hajime's hip claiming it was dangerous outside, and she had to hug him for safety. The monsters kept chasing them so Hajime used some new weapons integrated into the vehicle. The cannonballs on the vehicle could easily destroy their heads. Hajime intended to continue using the equalizer when the monsters retreated. Unexpectedly, what was underneath was a person. After checking, he was suffering from magic backlash with poison in his body that couldn't be expelled so he couldn't hold on. Normal magic had no effect, so Kazu used a high-level recovery spell. Kazu could channel magic into the body and draw the released magic into the ring that Hajime gave him. However, Kazu only withdrew a portion. If he withdraws too much, he will die from mana depletion. Hajime asked Kazu to check on everyone because it might spread through the air. At this moment he also woke up and thought that Kaoji was a goddess. Before he could touch Kaoji, Hajime kicked him to wake him up. His name is BJ, the son of the Lord of Alkaji Duchy. It is a town located on the sea and is a vital place for seafood transportation. It is also where Mew was born and it seems like something serious is happening there which Hajime intends to visit. A few days ago, some people started showing symptoms of fever and then collapsed. The drinking water was contaminated, causing the mana to surge. Despite strict surveillance, they still don't understand the cause of everything. The way to cure the water source is to use mana-suppressing mineral stones. However, adventurers have been gradually lost due to the mana surge, making it hard to mine. In short, he was looking for support when he collapsed in the desert. Hajime and his companions are high-ranking adventurers, so he wants to hire them for the mission. It seems everyone wants to help the town, so Hajime stopped by to check the situation. You can handle the water source, so there's no need to go gather. The view outside is quite majestic, but inside it's not like that. Kaji and Sia will be inside the town, healing those who got sick. Hajime and the others moved to the water source where they created a large pit around. It was created with concrete to prevent outside water from seeping in and then Joe used high-level magic. Creating a new clean water source seemed to form quite a large pool which requires a lot of mana so Ju needs Hajime to provide more. Conveniently, as soon as they reached the water source, Hajime's mana stone reacted. It seems there is something at the bottom of the pool. Hajime tried throwing a few grenades into the water and a monster appeared to attack. It seems to be the cause of the water contamination, armed with a short gun in hand. Hajime could easily destroy the core inside its body, eliminating the monster and clean water flowed out continuously like now. In the future, it will return to normal. There is a high possibility that the demon race has intervened to cause the water pollution. Everyone was very happy to hear that the town would return to its former state in a while. The clean water reserves are also enough for everyone to use. When help arrives, Kaji will stay in the town to treat everyone and take care of Miu. Suddenly, Miu asked Hajime if he planned to kiss Kaji like he did with Jue by the river. Kaji shifted from worry to anger, because she thought they were on a mission not kissing each other. Then Hajime began to move towards the mountain of mana stone outside, where the quality was not very good. So they need to go deeper. It seems not easy to enter because there are monsters unexpectedly appearing inside. With a considerable amount of spirit stones, the only task left is to conquer this dungeon. It seems the temperature inside the volcano has made the adventurers' minds less clear. If we continue, we might face losses, so everyone decided to rest for a bit. Then Joe used magic to create an ice block to make the cave cooler. Tio realized each dungeon has its own unique challenges. The first challenge for conquering the dungeon is to fight various types of monsters. The second dungeon challenges you to fight without using magical powers, meaning it tests the body's endurance. Hajime used a small boat to navigate through a lava crevice with his experience. Hajime could sense that something unexpected was about to happen. The dungeon's end was a vast space with a fortress in the center. No matter how you looked at it, you could tell that attacking would summon guardians. At that moment, many spells were aimed at the boat, so everyone split up to dodge. Hajime was about to approach to investigate when unexpectedly, many monsters attacked from beneath the lava. To enter there, you'd have to defeat them, but they kept respawning continuously. Their abilities were high, similar to the monsters at the lake. Destroying the core was enough. Even though they managed to destroy the cores of the monsters, they kept appearing. It seems that each time a monster's core was destroyed, the gem over there also shattered according to the high possibility. To pass this phase, they had to eliminate 100 monsters. After a while of fighting, only 5 remained, meaning they could no longer recover. Unexpectedly, after taking down the last 5, a powerful spell struck right at his position. Part 2 Episode 3, Joe immediately used magic to move Hajime to a safe place, and then used recovery potions. It seems they continued to attack, so Joe tried to change the trajectory. Unexpectedly, the demons had planned to wait here for Hajime's group to appear. He is the Apostle J, a loyal disciple of the god, specializing in punishing heretics. After receiving ancient power, he proclaimed himself as the god's disciple. Hajime is a dangerous target for the god, so he must be eliminated quickly. He activated ancient power, teleporting behind Hajime and attacking. Hajime might be very strong, but if he gets hit, unexpectedly he could die like everyone else. Hajime activated his ability to break the summoning limits, unleashing multiple barriers to stop the attack before he could unleash another strong hit, but Tio intervened in dragon form. Taking advantage of Tio focusing his attention away, Hajime approached and attacked with a bullet from his gun. The shot destroyed his shield and struck Hajime. He intended to keep pursuing the fight, but his body had reached its limit. Unexpectedly, using the power of the divine era, he was still being overwhelmed like this. A human with powers that could expand in the future. A dragon man attacked without needing to chant. Even though Hajime was heavily injured, he did not rush in. The terror doesn't lie in strength, but in the murderous intent to devour the enemy. To defeat Hajime and his team, he used his ultimate move. This is a living volcano that has never been recorded to have erupted before. This means there is some factor controlling the volcano, and now he will destroy it. Hajime immediately gave the ring containing the mana stone to Tio to take back for the people. If they all stayed here, it would be hard to escape. They need to get outside, so Hajime seriously assigned the mission. At this point, she had no choice but to try to stay alive. Thanks to being by Hajime's side, Tio learned a new skill. The more damage she takes, the higher all her stats will increase. The ring Hajime gave her has modern weapons that can block strong attacks to safely escape outside. However, the soldiers following them were caught off guard by the weapon Tio left behind, which exploded while the royal family was desperately strengthening their power for the hero. They even planned to see Hajime as a heretic that needed to be eliminated to fight the demon race. Part 2, Episode 4. After all the hardships, Tio finally returned to the town with Hajime. The remaining people will find a way to escape from the encirclement. Hajime also received a message back from Taoji, saying they would meet again. No matter how dire the situation, Hajime would survive. Instead of worrying, they should focus on the tasks at hand. It had been a few days since Hajime escaped from the volcanic eruption in the maze. Hajime's wounds were stable, but it would take a few days to heal completely. Knowing that Ju was checking on her health, but at SAO, she had to sit on top while he lay underneath. Previously, when the volcano was about to erupt, Hajime and the others successfully entered the reward dome. The reward for conquering the maze was ancient magic related to space. However, Hajime couldn't use it right away because it was difficult magic. Suddenly, Hajime said that they would swim in the lava. When they went outside, they looked at him with confused expressions. Hajime had prepared a submarine that could dive in the sea, but whether it could withstand the lava was still a test. To their surprise, the ship couldn't move in the lava due to the extreme temperature. Now they had no choice but to accept their fate. If they were lucky, they would be pushed outside. As long as they could be by Hajime's side until the last moment, they would accept whatever happened. The pressure from the Earth's core created an explosion that blasted them all out to sea. But that wasn't the end. The monsters outside kept clinging to the ship. The prepared cannon fire couldn't take them all down, so Jue used magic to eliminate them, which drained a lot of mana, and Sia accepted to let Ju drink her blood. Using magic consumed a lot of mana, and Sia agreed to let Ju drink her blood. As a result, Sia had to rest inside while Ju and Hajime lay outside together while everyone was having lunch. Then a group of strangers appeared. They preferred to use their fists rather than talk, so Hajime gave them a beating. Above in the sky were Miu falling freely with Tio and Kauji. They believed Hajime would survive. Seeing it with their own eyes still made them very happy. Kauji intended to take advantage of the moment to hug Hajime. Just a moment, Tio has taken that position. By now everyone has moved to the sea where the mermaids live. It's also where Miu was born. Hajime plans to stay here for a while to stabilize everything. Miu seems very eager to see her mother again, so she leads Hajime to their house. Miu's mother is Jemima, and she is a bit surprised that her child calls someone else father. In the previous accident, Jemima injured her leg, so Miu wants Hajime to heal her mother. Hajime only treats Jemima's legs, but the villagers think she is about to remarry. With Taoji's ability she can fully heal, but she needs to rest for a few days. Jemima wonders how Hajime and Miu met and why she calls him father. Hearing that they plan to stay in the village for a while, Jemima invites them to her home. Hajime intends to rent an inn near the port, but Jemima uses Miu to stop him. If he wants, he can stay here and be Miu's father, and she will repay him for a lifetime. Hajime doesn't want Jemima to chase him away like that because there's a killing intent around. Meanwhile, Aiko has returned after completing her agricultural support mission. Shizuku heard that Aiko was nearly dead, yet she was healed by Hajime. Aiko's awkward attitude makes Shizuku wonder what Hajime did to the teacher. Back to the main issue, the royal family has decided that Hajime is a heretic that must be eliminated. Hajime has immense power, but because he doesn't follow orders, they are acting this way. Hajime also told Ai about the god the church worships and his purpose. Although there is no specific evidence, she still wants to report back to her students. Part 2, Episode 5. Currently, they have left the island to search for ruins at the bottom of the sea. Hajime and Kaori are reminiscing about memories in the old world when the others show up. In Hajime's hand is proof that he successfully conquered the dungeon in the volcano. After the energy on the artifact is fully charged, its light points straight down to the sea floor. Hajime immediately sends the submarine down below and discovers an entrance to the labyrinth. If it weren't for Hajime's ship, it would really be hard for them to find this labyrinth. Unexpectedly, there is quite a large cave at the bottom of the sea. No water is flooding in. Even if unexpected situations or monsters appear, everyone can still handle it easily. After moving for a while, a liquid-type monster appears. It not only burns upon contact but also melts magical power. After attacking for a while, the monster finally shows up. Taoji tries to use magic to create a shield for everyone to attack. Even though they have been defeated many times, they keep regrouping into one monster body. There are no magic stones like other species in front of us. Through Hajime's magic eye, he only sees a black liquid. Fighting it isn't the answer, so everyone has no choice but to go down. Hajime uses a drill to create a hole down below, but he doesn't know where it will lead. The water pressure is so strong that Kauji can't take it, so Hajime tries to help her to the surface. It seems everyone has lost each other because the current is quite strong. Kauji wonders why Hajime saved her and not someone else. It's simple, really. She looked like she was about to die while Hu had the ability to handle it. Instead of worrying about trivial things, she should focus because everyone is in a huge maze. At this moment, Hajime and Kauji continue to conquer the dungeon. Throughout their journey together, Hajime has always paid attention to Kauji's expressions. After moving for a while, the two arrive at an area with many sunken ships. Somehow, Hajime and Kauji witness the scene of ships battling. Normal attacks don't hit, but adding a bit of magic power works. No matter the attribute, as long as there's magic power, everything touched disappears. The person who just disappeared was just an illusion, so Kauji doesn't need to worry. The ability of the maze creator is to use illusions to challenge those who want to conquer the dungeon. Each great maze has its own challenge, so this one relates to the mind. Kauji can't stand seeing death, so she needs to rest. She feels jealous, because she wants to be the one to protect and care for Hajime. She says that but doesn't know what she can do, not even keeping her promise. Hajime wonders what Taoji's purpose is in following him, and she is very annoying. First, Hajime treated Sia very lightly and only considered Chu to be the most special. He hoped Sia would give up, but she still pouted, mixed between crying and laughing, and yet she was still happy. Even though she can't use magic, she still moves forward without feeling inferior. Since Taoji joined, she has always apologized and lost her usual smile. Hajime straightforwardly says he likes Chu. Even if he values others, Chu is still the most special. If Taoji doesn't understand that and keeps feeling inferior, she shouldn't go together anymore. At this moment, the teacher intends to tell her students everything, but as she walks a bit, a nun appears, reads her mind, and then knocks her out to take her back to the base and turn her into a useful pawn for the plan in episode 6 of Part R. At this moment, Hajime and Saoji move onto a large ship. As soon as they step on, the space begins to change. It reveals an unexpected past where a party with many races is held on the ship. Based on that man's statement, everyone is celebrating the end of the war, but that's just an initial declaration. King doesn't like having to raise a glass with monsters and a future with outsiders. He exploited trust to gather everyone on the boat to easily wipe out and eliminate all the leaders of the nations like this, making the king quite happy. After witnessing the slaughter on the ship, the atmosphere returned to normal. Hajime realized that when the king went up to the podium, his gaze didn't resemble that of a murderer. It seemed a high god had intervened in this matter to continue the war. After moving for a while, mist surrounded them and a magical attack blew Kazuha away. After defeating the monsters that appeared, Hajime immediately went to look for Kazuha. It seemed that Kazuha felt a bit scared just now, so she wanted Hajime to take care of her. Hajime gently brought the gun to Kazuha's neck and fired because he recognized the enemy in front of him. Although the actions and voice were exactly like Kyuji, Hajime could still recognize the issue. The magical bullet didn't affect the body much and the soul that entered Kyuji would suffer pain. Hajime just needed to attack until it came out of Kyuji's body. Daring to touch someone important to him would not end well. He wouldn't easily eliminate it but would find a way to not let it vanish. Faced with Hajime's terrifying presence, the soul vanished, returning the body to Kazu. Suddenly, Kazu took the initiative to kiss Hajime and said that this was her answer. Taoji really liked Hajime and wanted to be by his side, even knowing that the next road would have many difficulties. If Taoji had decided so, then Hajime had no objections. It seemed that Taoji felt quite happy when Hajime just told her she was important. Unexpectedly, this dungeon was only this much and it was done. The Kia group had also completed theirs. Initially, Kaoji could walk by herself, but still let Hajime carry her. Everyone wondered what had happened and learned that Kaoji had taken the initiative to kiss Hajime. This also meant that Kaoji had decided to accompany the group without comparing herself to anyone else. The girls were resolving their issues with each other, so Hajime stood aside waiting for it to finish. After entering the magic circle, the image of the dungeon master appeared. She said not to trust the gods, but to use one's own will to decide. After saying that, the figure disappeared, leaving behind evidence. Successfully conquering the labyrinth, they now had all 4 pieces of evidence, allowing them to conquer the labyrinth. Unexpectedly, when taking the insignia in hand, they were forced outside. Hajime and the group just used space magic to change locations when they encountered the monster. He needed everyone to hold the monster for 3 minutes to prepare everything. After preparing, Hajime activated the explosive bomb on its body. Just need to light it. Today Miu ran to the room to wake Hajime up. She wondered why Hajime and Ju were always lying together without clothes. Until Miu grows up, she will definitely understand. Miu wonders if the thing below is also growing, so she can understand. Girls don't have this thing, so it's no big deal. Plus Miu, don't touch it too soon. At that moment, everyone entered the room to call Hajime to get dressed and eat together. It had already been 10 days since the successful conquest of the maze at the bottom of the sea. The ship was almost repaired, so it's time to prepare for the next journey. However, Hajime didn't know how to start talking to Miu. Just then Jimiya swam up from the sea to talk to Hajime. After all this time, Hajime has taken care of and worried about Miu, so as a mother, Jimiya wants to thank him even though Miu is still small, but the girl knows that she can't keep Hajime's group here forever. Tonight Hajime will directly tell her that they will set off tomorrow morning, so tonight, Jimiya will hold a farewell party with her beloved husband. None of them expected Jimiya to attack so quickly, and this perspective is no different from serving Hajime. Just then, Miu ran over to give Hajime's size swimsuit. Everyone thought Hajime liked the swimsuit, so they took it off and gave it to him. That afternoon, Hajime seriously talked about continuing the journey instead of crying and begging to stay, so Miu wished Hajime's group to be careful, and one day, she would come to pick Hajime up herself. Because she is still Hajime's daughter, Hajime promised that if he finished everything later, he would come back to find her. If he takes Miu with him later, Jimiya doesn't want to be left out. Everyone was stunned when Jemima said that wherever her beloved husband and daughter went, she would follow. The next morning, Miu gave each person a charm as a gift. Although she really wanted to cry, Miu still tried to smile to see Hajime's group off. Miu and her mother would always be here waiting for Hajime to come back and take them together. At the same time, the princess was trying to sneak out because it was no longer safe in the kingdom. Previously, a stranger had kidnapped the goddess of agriculture, and the king's actions were very strange. The demon race also gathered soldiers to prepare for battle against the soldiers in the kingdom, who were almost soulless and lacked fighting spirit. There was a high possibility that someone had secretly attacked, causing the soldiers to become like this. The captain had realized this. He was trying to find the cause in case he was attacked. The captain wrote 2 letters to the kingdom and Hajime's group. Just then Hisama from the hero team entered to talk, but they hadn't said anything when the subordinates came to report. As soon as the captain opened the door, he was attacked unexpectedly because the subordinate had been brainwashed. The captain, in order to protect Hisama, ran outside without knowing that he had joined the brainwashed group. In Part 2 Episode 8, the sneak attack did not hit the vital point, so the captain could resist. However, he couldn't kill his subordinate and only tried to limit their movements. However, even if I beat them to death, their bodies still stand up and fight like this. Captain had no choice but to escape outside to find a chance to flee, but he didn't expect that outside there was still a powerful enemy waiting in the sky. When the captain saw that scene, he realized his fate and had to rely on Hajime's group. At that moment, Hajime was still moving and discovered a fight below where a group of merchants was trying to resist a band of robbers. The barrier is strong, but if the magic power runs out, they'll all be killed. Hajime immediately drove down and used his integrated weapon to eliminate the robbers. Then he tried to move to the merchants to heal those injured. To his surprise, the one using the barrier was Princess Liliana of the kingdom, and she actively struck up a cheerful conversation with Hajime, but he didn't know she was an AI. When asked about how the princess ended up here, she recounted everything, including how she and AI was kidnapped. Recently, the atmosphere in the palace had changed a lot. The princess's father also believed in Christianity more, and had a strong faith. The number of soldiers losing their combat effectiveness on the battlefield was also gradually increasing. She thought she had to tell everything to that AI and immediately thought of Hajime's group first. Hajime would go save the capable teacher because of him she got involved. If she could save the teacher, she would know the reason behind everything. It didn't matter what kind of enemy it was, as long as they obstructed he would kill all the AIs. She was sitting there thinking when she accidentally called Hajime's name and unexpectedly he actually appeared. It was even more surprising that the place she was imprisoned was the highest floor of the castle. Hajime was a bit surprised, because he had concealed his presence and yet she still recognized him. Hajime only helped untie the chains on her hands, but she thought of the scene with the teacher and students. Currently, the church viewed Hajime as a heretic. As long as he appeared they would take action. At that moment, Hajime sensed the presence of demon kind outside. This also meant that the monster army was preparing to invade the kingdom. Just then, something flew straight toward Hajime and blew away the castle, appearing before him. In front of Hajime was a loyal apostle of a god named Nan. Hajime was seen as an obstacle to the god, so she needed to eliminate him. Part 2 Episode 9. Currently, the great barrier around the kingdom had been destroyed. The undead were moving toward the kingdom led by a white dragon from the great volcanic maze. That was the dragon that had injured Hajime, so Ju and Sia would join in to take revenge on them. At that moment, Hajime contacted Tio, asking her to come support because a strong enemy had appeared. Hajime needed someone to protect the teacher, so he could unleash all his power. At the same time, Jason, the leader of the demon kind, attacking the kingdom appeared. He attacked Joe and Sia, and just before the attack reached Joe, he used his spatial power, changing the direction of the attack in response to Dai's provocation. He unleashed his full power. So chasing after Sia is the fiancé of the demon race in the labyrinth that Hajime eliminated. Sia didn't really care because if the enemy attacked, she had to fight back against Hajime. At that time, she even said if she left he would let it go, but she chose to fight. If they wanted to keep their distance, then Sia just needed to use her new weapon. She attached a stone with a chain to make her attack fly further. He thought Sia was blocking the attack from above, so he had a chance to rush in, but Sia could still summon another stone to strike back at him even though she got hit with a bit of petrifying poison. But that much Sia could still recover. Her ability to dodge attacks easily made him even angrier. However, no matter how angry he was, it didn't change the fact that he had been defeated. Back to the battle between Joe and the leader of the demon army, he was well aware that Joe could use lightning magic, so he brought along a monster that could absorb magic. However, that monster could only seal lightning magic. Because Joe could still use many other types of magic, he began to chant to use ancient magic. The attack was so powerful that it blew everything around away, including his subordinates. As soon as he saw Joe get hurt, he immediately ordered his dragon to charge straight into Joe's body, thinking that Joe was dead. But she had used a magic that seriously injured him and the dragon, the same pain that Hajime had endured earlier. Joe would return the favor many times over. His subordinate soldiers had no way to stall for their leader to retreat. At the same time, Hajime was still fighting against the avatar of the god, Hajime. It was impossible to fight and protect the teacher at the same time, so he could only keep his distance before she used magic to attack. Hajime had used a barrier surrounding him. Suddenly, a strange sound came from below, causing Hajime's magic power to weaken. After the conversation ended, she immediately attacked, breaking Hajime's barrier. At that moment, Tio was flying in very quickly and used magic to blow her away. Now there was no one here to hinder him anymore, so Hajime could concentrate all his power. Part 2 Episode 10. Tio was rushing to get Aiko. to a safe place to support the battle. However, Eiko also wanted to assist because her magic power was not inferior to that of a hero. Although she was very afraid of fighting humans, just sitting and hoping like this wouldn't change anything. Hajime wielded the equality gun to attack, but it didn't have much effect even though he got close, but she could still dodge. In an instant, she moved behind him, destroying the weapon in his hand. Hajime had no choice but to activate his limit-breaking ability to fight. They fought each other for a while, but her magic power showed no signs of diminishing, while Hajime had a time limit. Using to break limits, Hajime tries to shorten the distance as much as possible and then creates an explosion. Although the explosion injures both of them, Hajime has his own purpose. After that, Hajime continues to throw out 2 mirrors combined with space magic. As long as he shoots into the mirror beside him, then the attack will come flying out from the other mirror. The moment her weapon broke, he immediately controlled it with magic. During that time, Hajime used all his strength on the drill piercing through her body. After defeating the apostle of the god, Hajime returns to Where Everyone Island. The reason she is here is that she decided to help, thanks to the massive amount of magical power from the goddess of agriculture which destroyed the church entirely. Initially, she intended to only destroy the barrier but accidentally amplified her attack, and ended up destroying the church members as well. They must have been blown away too. Eiko had prepared herself, but upon seeing the scene in front of her, she still couldn't bear it. Just then the silhouette of someone appeared, wanting Hajime to follow after him as he pointed at the barrier. Buried beneath the rocks, Hajime and the others entered the magic circle, and were transported to another place. It seems that the ancient power of this dungeon intervenes with souls. The conquest condition requires 2 proofs, conquering and not carrying any divine thresholds. As long as all conditions are met, he can successfully conquer the dungeon. At the same time, the other students heard that the Great Barrier had been destroyed and the demon race was attacking. One member of the group thought they should gather with the army as the number of demons had reached over 1,000,000, so they needed an equivalent number to fight. After that, everyone also heard the call and moved towards the soldiers. Shizuku observed the surroundings, feeling something strange, so she warned everyone to be careful. Little did they expect, just in a moment, the soldiers around attacked them. The mastermind behind everything was none other than a member of their group. In Part 2 Episode 11, she actively approached Koki, putting on a bracelet and then forcefully kissing him. She has feelings for Koki and will do anything to achieve her goal. She doesn't confess her feelings because Koki is too kind. She can't just give him special feelings. To become a special person, she will eliminate all obstacles. In the old world, it would be very difficult to do that, but in this world, it's much easier. The unusual actions of the people around are due to the influence of soul manipulation, magic, meaning they have died. The hero's abilities will differ from regular soul manipulators. Normally, she doesn't just recreate the memories and thoughts of the controlled person but also helps them respond. However, the skill only has maximum effectiveness when they have just died to prove that she can do it. She immediately performed it right in front of all her close friends who were merely pawns, to exploit for the purpose of approaching the one she loves. She also wondered what Saoji's expression would be like. What will happen when your best friend is killed? But before she can act, a barrier protects her. Shizuku is saved from the attack while Cao Di is still chanting the purification spell. Princess unexpectedly creates a protective barrier and Hazama also sides with her to attack Cao Di. From behind, even though she is stabbed through the body, Cao Di still tries to activate her healing and enhancement skills. After recovering from her wounds, everyone tries to stand up and resist. However, the number of soldiers is overwhelming and the captain has been turned into a puppet. Suddenly, while fighting, she feels her body being damaged from within. It turns out the kiss she just gave contained poison which is now spreading. She intends to turn Saoji into her puppet when Hajime appears above the stage. After seeing Saoji standing motionless, Hajime rushes in and punches him. Hajime says nothing, simply drawing the sword from Saoji's body and handing her over to everyone pretending to cooperate. But in reality, it's a trap for the soldiers to attack stealthily. Although the captain has been brainwashed, he still resists thanks to Hajime's intervention. Then Hajime summons the Universal Equalizer, taking down all the surrounding soldiers. Despite being seriously injured, the young man still rushes to attack and gets restrained by Hajime. It seems he has feelings for Taoji but is overshadowed by Hajime. Hajime kicks him away, leaving him for the demon race to devour. Currently, everyone has managed to stabilize Taoji's soul, but they can't hold on for long. The leader of the demon race appears advising Hajime and his teammates to surrender. However, Hajime summons a weapon to attack all the demons outside the kingdom. If he wants to fight, he can just come at him, because he will kill all those who obstruct him. Feeling he cannot defeat Hajime, he reluctantly suppresses his anger and retreats. Part 2 Episode 12. The recent invasion of the demon race had assistance from heroes from another world. Cao has left a message on the body of the demon that Hajime killed in the labyrinth. She then promises to lead the demon race to the kingdom to kill people in another world and offer her army in doing so. In exchange, she seeks her own freedom alongside the hero. The reason she didn't kill them all at once is due to the nature of her soul calling skill. The invasion of the kingdom ended in defeat, and she fled with the leader of the demon race along with a few others involved in this incident who are currently under investigation. Currently, everyone is still holding Cao Ji's soul intact during this time. Hajime meets with the teacher to have a serious talk once again. She doesn't need to smile at Hajime because at some point she will kill more students. She knows very well that Hazama's actions are unforgivable considering the extent of Hajime's anger. If she still sees him as a teacher, Hajime wants her to hear a request. He wants Aiko to hold onto her guilt in her heart and bear that weight fighting correctly and sighing correctly and live true to his real self. Hajime no longer has that glory because he is no longer human. He will continue to fight to eliminate enemies to find a way back to Japan though. If there comes a time he can't get up, he will lend her his back. Meanwhile, his classmates are still training despite everything that has happened. The princess has been sleepless for a week just because the demon tribe invaded and lost a family member. Shizuku, although her face shows no change, always looks up at the sky at this moment. Hajime and everyone are falling from the sky. Kazu will arrive soon, but his appearance has slightly changed and there's hope. Shizuku, don't be mad. Just as I said that Cao Di fell from the sky to the ground without anyone to catch him, as soon as she recognized that the person in front of her was Cao Di, Shizuku rushed over to hug him and cried like a child. Earlier, Hajime used magic to put Cao Di's soul into Nan's body. To do that, he had to possess the magic of the great. Intervening in the soul, it turned out that Kazuha's body had fully recovered, but Kazuha wanted to be stronger. That's why Kazuha asked Hajime to use magic to transfer her soul to this body. Hajime simply resolved to save an important teammate and not irritate some teacher. Hajime also recounted the story of how the gods manipulated this world like a game. However, that doesn't mean he will hunt the gods or protect the people. His only goal is to seek power to return to the old world. She just sees having power to protect others, so he ended up lying down under the ground. That night Hajime was having dinner with his teammates when other students came in. They heard that Hajime intended to go to the Great Labyrinth in the east, so they wanted to tag along. If they could possess the power of the divine era, they could protect themselves and humanity. Hajime accepted for everyone to follow. Because it can be utilized to preserve power, Kazu seems not to understand that Hajime will use everyone as mobile meat shields, and then they all had to witness 4 beautiful girls competing to feed Hajime dinner. After Hajime finished eating, Kazu and Tio enjoyed the spoon. They did so because they hadn't been able to do that until now. Hajime hadn't kissed even once before this. Tio also tried her best to protect the teacher, so she wanted Hajime to reward her with something. The reward isn't too much, just need to tease like the first time they met would be enough. It seems like Hajime is the reason that turned Tio into a pervert. If Tio wants to feed him the stick once again, Hajime wouldn't mind. Next morning, Hajime and everyone woke up early to prepare for the journey. Next part BA, Episode 1. At this moment everyone is moving towards the Great Labyrinth of the Hatina Forest. There are only 2 Great Labyrinths left. Continuing from Part BA, the group is moving towards the Great Maze of the Hatina Forest, only 2 mazes left. So the group needs to quickly finish breaking through to fulfill their dream, just a short distance to reach the Empire. And the princess has business there. The Empire is a hostile place where good people are oppressed. The weak must follow the strong. They glorify the idea of imprisonment or slavery and do whatever they want. As long as they're strong enough, the princess accidentally mentioned the beastmen, reminding Sia of the past. Earlier, Sia and her tribe were moving towards the forest when they encountered Imperial soldiers. Many members of the Tron family were killed and taken as slaves. Hearing this made Koki want to. Hajime temporarily postponed the trip to rescue the demi-humans. However, Hajime refused if he still wanted to get off the ship to return to the Empire. A moment later, Shizuku took the initiative to go outside and talk with Koki about. Hajime looked calm, but inside he might be feeling desperate. Earlier, Hajime mentioned that he was struggling to survive with the important people. The feeling of powerlessness that Koki had at this moment was what Hajime was trying to erase. Useless was the term that Hajime had always been called when summoned to this world. At this moment, Hajime discovered that some people below were being chased by Imperial soldiers. Despite their changed appearance, they were individuals Hajime had trained. This means the 2 of them were just luring the Imperial soldiers into the valley to eliminate them. As long as they approached without being cautious, they would definitely die. Everyone thought the rabbit tribe was usually weak and easy to bully, but upon observing the battle, they thought differently. In fact, those people were strong because they had been trained by Hajime. Just as someone was about to use magic to attack Hajime, eliminated them, and everyone below knew that their superior was the one who acted, so they greeted him. No one expected Hajime's right eye could see when the enemy was about to use magic, making them think he was just showing off. After that, Hajime's group went down to gather with everyone. Regarding what happened at SAO, they had a long story to tell once they reached a safe place. At this moment, they continued to argue about which name suited Hajime. The name they chose was a bit hard for Hajime to bear, so the other two couldn't help but laugh. A strong girl would wear a bow like a girl, while a modestly tall person would be made shorter by a few centimeters. This time everything was due to the demon clan calling many types of demons to attack the forest, and people stood up to fight. However, the numbers were overwhelming, so they had to retreat. At the same time, Imperial soldiers appeared, aiming to capture people, rather than seize territory. It seems the Empire had been attacked and suffered severely, so they wanted to kidnap demi-humans to supplement their labor force. To save their tribe, the clan leader and an elite team headed to the Empire, but since they entered, there had been no news. They likely encountered trouble while gathering information. People discovered a cart carrying slaves and decided to rescue them, forcing Hajime to change plans. There hasn't been any news since then. They might have encountered trouble while gathering information. Everyone discovered a cart carrying slaves, so they freed them. Hajime had to change his plans, moving towards the Empire to save everyone even though Sia still smiled and talked. Her ears had drooped. The forced smile showed her worry for her family, just like the first time they all met. Sia is an important part of the team, so he will do his best to support Part BA Chapter 2. The group has now moved into the Empire. All around is slave trading and drinking. From what I observed, this place has also suffered significant damage. After the demon invasion, every time AI encounters trouble, Koki wants to intervene and help. However, Hajime stopped him because acting recklessly like that would affect the team. According to the investigation, Sia's father has made a big scene and is currently locked up in the palace. Hajime just said he would investigate with Ju. The group thinks that Hajime plans to sneak around with the girls but unexpectedly overheard their conversation. It seemed like something only appeared in movies. That night, everyone suspected that the two had been getting cozy because Ju's complexion had improved. However, Ju looked that way because he was draining Hajime's blood, not because they were sleeping together. Soon, Hajime, Ju, and Saya will sneak into the palace. If they happen to be discovered, they can still use space magic to get away. On top of that, Hajime has something extremely important and dangerous he wants to ask Koki. He just needs to play the hero like always, and stage a scene to save the demi-human from danger, but appearing out of nowhere doesn't look good, so he needs a mask to hide his identity. If you're a hero, you have to wear a superhero mask to look the part. It seems like Hajime is both asking for help and getting revenge for them laughing at him for being given the nickname Shizuku. Just look at that. Her room is filled with stuffed animals, and she really loves animals. Meanwhile, the members caught in the prison are badmouthing Hajime. They wonder what he will do if he gets captured. Unexpectedly, while they are gossiping, a familiar and terrifying voice echoes. While Hajime is helping everyone in the prison, the 4 superhero siblings have appeared. However, the 4 people wearing strange masks make the soldiers below think they're being teased. At the same time, Hajime has arrived at the prison where Sia's father is being tortured. He keeps provoking them continuously. He keeps getting beaten time after time, yet even heavily injured, he still speaks boldly. Looks like a true leader. After successfully rescuing them, they talk about gathering members to fight against the Empire. The clan leader says that it's not about asking Hajime to join, but just expressing their sincerity. The Empire has begun planning to capture all the rabbit tribe people as pets. The previous attack has weakened their forces. If attacked again, it will be hard to hold out. So if they don't stand up and fight, the entire tribe will be exterminated. Knowing that the number of the rabbit tribe is much less than that of the Empire, they will leverage their strengths. The rabbit tribe has excellent stealth abilities, so they just need to focus on assassination. This is a battle for the survival of the entire rabbit tribe, so they cannot back down. Sia is very sad to hear Hajime won't participate, but he didn't say he wouldn't help the rabbit tribe. He needs to prove his strength. If he steps out, everything will go back to how it was. The main mission is to capture the Emperor and his entire family, taking over the palace, so there's no rescue, and show them that the Empire can fall in a night. They need to know that anyone opposing the rabbit tribe will be slaughtered and lose their heads. Part 3 Episode 3 Early in the morning, Ju took the initiative to kiss Hajime. She felt happy because Hajime had recently been more open with everyone. Sia is one of the few important people Hajime has, but Ju is the special one. Both were about to continue kissing when everyone came looking for him. However, Ju still wouldn't stop and continued to kiss Hajime, and everyone saw that scene. At the same time, the princess had arrived at the Empire to discuss cooperation. She came here to request aid and long-term cooperation in the future. The way to express friendship between the two nations is through a political marriage between the princess and the emperor's son. The king received news last night that the Empire was attacked by a group of strange masked individuals, beastmen who don't typically wear masks. Moreover, the attackers were armed with a weapon that resembled a holy sword. They continuously demanded gender equality for beastmen, and their way of speaking was unlike people from this world. The king also mentioned that they had captured some interesting beastmen. The rabbit tribe in the Tree Sea area has unusual combat abilities compared to regular rabbits. However, they had been rescued. At the same time, the strange group appeared during the conversation. The princess could recognize that it was Hajime and Koki's group. She heard that Hajime had quite a strong team, and that person was also a rabbit tribe member. Just then there was an announcement that the hero had arrived at the Empire to find the princess. Unexpectedly, the captain of the Imperial Army was the same guy who chased, captured, and killed Saya's family years ago. In fact, upon seeing Saya, he wanted to buy her back at a high price. Hajime immediately intervened, telling him to know his place and lead everyone to the princess. As soon as they met, the princess scolded them repeatedly for their actions. She knew very well that Hajime was the leader in rescuing the rabbit tribe and had the Koki group wear masks. However, that wasn't the issue. The reason Hajime came through the main entrance at this time was because the king of the empire summoned everyone to meet. Hajime's serious demeanor surprised everyone around, but the king had heard about Hajime's personality from the princess, so he told him to act normally. He heard that Hajime had conquered many labyrinths and possessed ancient skills. With that kind of power, he had no intention of handing it over to the major kingdoms or anyone else. Hajime had no reason to give it to them, and if he didn't, he'd be made an example. Now if the king made a move, he wouldn't be able to do anything and might even get everyone killed. The girls beside Hajime piqued his interest, especially the rabbit tribe member. The king continuously asked questions regarding last night's incidents, but Hajime always denied it. After asking many questions, the king asked Hajime how he could enlist in the empire. If the king finds a way back to the old world, he will boost morale. Tonight the king will hold a welcome party and also the engagement party of the princess. This is a political marriage, and it has been the fate of the royal family since ancient times. Hajime left the room, knowing that outsiders could not intervene. At that moment, the princess was changing clothes when the prince of the empire walked in. He ordered all the servants and soldiers outside to have some privacy. He really enjoyed Liliana's defiant gaze as it excited him to drown it in despair. How would she face the guests after losing her virginity before the engagement, even before marriage? Just before he made his move on Princess Liliana, a spider fell from somewhere. It stabbed into his neck, causing everything around him to spin before he fainted. It was a metal spider, and the maker was definitely Hajime. At the same time, Hajime's group had finished preparing everything and was ready for a surprise attack. Part 3 Episode 4. While the party was taking place, the entire rabbit tribe sneaked into the palace. They silently eliminated each guard to move deeper inside. Hajime intentionally left behind metal spiders with communication devices to keep track of the situation. They successfully infiltrated the palace, kidnapping 2 princes, 2 princesses, and an emperor's grandchild. As soon as the protagonist appeared, the party also began. The princess seemed a bit off, so Shizuku thought that Hajime had done something, but he only helped her escape from the prince's attack. Hajime didn't like answering questions, so he led Jui to the dance floor to dance together. Everyone felt jealous of Jui and were surprised when they heard Shizuku agree. After finishing dancing with Jui, the princess took the initiative to approach Hajime to invite him to dance. Jui urged Hajime to accept, as refusing would embarrass the princess in front of the crowd. Liliana recognized that spider was Hajime's, so she wanted to say thank you. After this party, she would be sullied by the prince, so she wanted to enjoy the last bit of joy. If she said she wanted help, what would Hajime do? He was a simple person, not good at reading between the lines. If she wanted something, she should just say it directly. Tonight, this empire will fall. At least that prince will no longer be in this world. Hajime and the princess were glued together, talking about something, causing everyone to suspect the princess was preparing to be engaged to the prince, so they didn't want Hajime to do anything reckless. It seemed the campaign was ready and everyone was preparing to fight. Now Sia will be a member of the rabbit tribe, so she can join them immediately. The lights inside the party vanished and the guards around were quickly eliminated. The emperor is quite strong, so he can't be easily defeated. Outside, an imperial army is coming to assist, but Sia has blocked them. She feels lucky. Because she reunited with an acquaintance in this place, her family is currently attacking the emperor. If they want to assist, they must get through here. They all charged into attack, but were entirely wiped out by Sia. The hammer in her hand is not just for close combat, it can also fire bullets like a gun. The commander lunged to attack, but Sia easily blocked him and delivered a straight punch to the stomach. After that, Saya used her hammer to send him flying into the sky, hoping this battle avenged some of those killed before. Back at the party, the rabbit tribe used poison to prevent the king from fighting. Instead of killing the king, Sia's tribe leader had 4 conditions to spare the king's life and all those present in the imperial palace. They must release all captured demi-humans and never attack the Great Labyrinth at the Tree Sea. The most important thing is that they must not engage in slave trading or oppress demi-humans. If the king swears in his name, they will retreat from this place. On the contrary, if the king refuses, the assassination will take place and will never stop. As soon as the emperor chose war, his eldest son was beheaded in front of everyone. After that, they blew up the camp, causing the guards monitoring the slaves, hundreds of whom lost their lives in the explosion, all due to the king's decision. With every passing second, if the king does not negotiate, the tribe leader will blow up an important area. After the king swore in his name, the entire rabbit tribe retreated. In part 3 of Season 5, Hajime had all the demi-humans board the spaceship and moved to the Tree Sea of Hatina, the kingdom of the demi-humans. The rabbit tribe had been expelled from there. Initially, the rabbit tribe was sentenced to death, but now everyone is under Hajime, so that sentence has been revoked. The Council of Elders represents the demi-human tribes and makes important decisions. The king quite liked Hajime's spaceship and wanted to buy one, even offering his entire fortune. And providing all kinds of beautiful girls. In the recent slave liberation, the empire lacks too many manpower and needs assistance from the princess. So the princess is still single. If Hajime likes, he can set her up. However, Hajime doesn't need to because he already has many girls around him. The outskirts of the forest have been heavily destroyed and the empire is the cause of the demi-humans. Inside the forest, they moved to check and were happy to reunite with their loved ones. The area was devastated by the battle. Kazu could use his restoration abilities to bring it back. Just from that performance, Kazu was regarded by the demi-humans as the goddess protecting the forest. Afterwards, the group entered to gather the elders for a discussion. However, the king of the empire kept speaking in a condescending manner. Before anything major happened, Hajime used spatial magic to throw the king back home. Just as Hajime looked at the princess, she kept insisting there was work to do regarding the achievements of freeing the demi-humans, which made the king accept the agreement. The rabbit tribe was lifted from the expulsion order. Additionally, Cam was appointed to a position as an elder. However, Cam declined the elder position and clearly explained why he did so. The liberation of the demi-humans who were enslaved was just a secondary goal. The rabbit tribe did not side with anyone but fought to protect the future of their lineage. As long as any tribe here dares to cause trouble for the boss and the rabbit tribe, they will stand up to fight. That night, Hajime went outside to talk to Sia. Sia's mother was buried under this tree and had once said she would become a hero to protect the family. Hajime thanked Sia's mother. Back in the first maze, Hajime intended to fight against the world alone. Maybe both of them could still get through the thorns, but it wouldn't be as fun as now. Everything was decorated by this girl, so Hajime wanted to thank Sia's mother. She was also grateful to Hajime, and wanted to do everything to repay him. However, Hajime just wanted Sia to keep smiling like every day. At this time, Sia led Hajime to the secret spot where her mother often sat to watch the moon. Suddenly, Hajime said he felt a bit tired and wanted to borrow Sia's lap to lie down for a bit. She didn't know when Hajime would open his heart to love her, but she would never give up. The next morning, everyone moved to the large tree in the middle of the forest. In Part BA Episode 6, Princess Liliana was thrown straight back to the kingdom by Hajime using space magic. After that, the princess recounted what had happened in the empire. Everyone hoped that the princess wouldn't let herself be corrupted by Hajime. They were also quite curious about what had happened between the princess and Hajime, noting her strange attitude. There was no friendliness to be seen, she only felt mistreated. Although she was very grateful to be saved from the prince, Hajime was not moved by her scantily clad appearance. She was also very happy to dance with Hajime but claimed everything he did was for Tao. People wondered how Hajime could understand, but he just needed to look in her eyes to know. Joe knew well that Hajime would recognize her, and take the opportunity to show off to Taoji and Sia. After moving for a while, they saw a monster being overwhelmed by a group. However, just looking at the expression, one could tell that the person was Tu. According to what was inscribed on the stone, conquering this maze required strong bonds, finding the impersonator in the team and accepting teammates who had changed form. After a while of searching, they found another teleportation gate. This time, Hajime was transported to a space resembling Japan. Ju came to his house to wake Hajime, and then they both went to school together. As soon as they arrived at school, Sia eagerly rushed to hug Hajime from behind. Hajime felt awkward because he was liked by two girls at the same time. Suddenly, questions popped into his head. Hajime felt that he had met Ju somewhere before, and Sia didn't wear her hair like this. Even though everything around felt usual, something was very strange. As soon as the teacher appeared, Hajime wondered when she would finally get fired. The way the teacher seemed excited when being scolded felt somewhat familiar to Hajime. On the way back, they all discovered a girl being harassed by a group of young men. Sia immediately rushed in to beat them up while Hajime planned to take something out to help. That night, Ju took the initiative to wear pajamas and came to his room to chat. Having a girlfriend who always loves me and living a normal life, but someone is screaming in my mind. Important memories began to surface, and Hajime regained consciousness. He almost forgot the promise and got lost in this world of desire. Hajime rejects the person in front of him because no matter how they look, they are not the real Ju. Even if this world is the ideal one, it can't replace the people by his side. Being able to overcome his ideal desires proves it. Hajime has passed the challenge of the Great Labyrinth in Part BA Episode 7, but only he has cleared it first while the others are still inside the challenge. Just then, Joe also passed the challenge and was lifted by Hajime. He could also understand why Sao Jue asked if he was the real Hajime. In Hajime's dream, Ju wore a school uniform from his world, while Hajime in Ju's dream was wearing battle armor and crowned as she was the queen. Although Sia intentionally made noise, both of them still didn't care, and planned to kiss to avoid hurting Sia by ignoring her. Hajime and Ju went to check. In Sia's dream, she met Hajime before her family was expelled. They both had a happy life, but Sia always felt something was off and her soul was always screaming. Hajime gently hugged Sia and congratulated her for returning safely. At this moment, Tiao and Saoji also woke up. Saoji's actions seemed strange, so he wanted to ask what life was like in the dream. Just looking at his face red as a tomato was enough to tell it's a twisted life. Right now, Hajime's group is all awake, just the hero group left. As expected, the first one in the hero group to wake up is Shizuku. Shizuku's slightly strange attitude when talking to Hajime made everyone suspicious. Although asked what she dreamed about, Shizuku didn't dare to say because in her dream she was a princess and the prince was Hajime. The others had no choice but to intervene. Taoji used his separation power to wake the other three from their dreams. After everyone woke up, a magic circle appeared transporting them to another place. After walking for a while, rain appeared, but inside the giant tree it was unusual. Ju immediately created a barrier to protect them before the slimes appeared to attack. Just being touched by them makes clothes thinner, revealing what's underneath. Looking at the faces of those two, it's clear they need their memories erased. After escaping this place, Hajime has no choice but to incinerate them for daring to do so. Dirty everyone didn't expect that the slime's goo made the girls excited. The poison can make those affected feel intoxicated, completely suppressing their ability to use magic. It might take a bit of time to wear off, but it can still be overcome with willpower. Hajime wondered why Tio was completely fine as she was the one most affected. Of course Tio was still affected and couldn't use magic, but the level of stimulation was far less than when he tortured her. The others were affected but managed to keep their minds, with only 6 of them overcoming it, while the other 2 needed timely intervention. At this moment Saya sensed something beneath and used her clairvoyance to take a look. Saya's expression was quite strange, so Hajime went over to check and discovered many small entities below. When asked, Hajime reported he saw demons, something the AI also knew about. Hajime then projected onto the screen millions of cockroaches moving below. They were already terrifying, and knowing they could fly was truly a nightmare. Everyone immediately created a protective barrier around themselves as they were completely covered. Suddenly, they gathered into one spot and formed a magical circle. The remaining ones combined into a larger entity, looking like a demi-human. Not only that, but Hajime and Shu stated that they hated each other. Part BA of Episode 8 seemed to indicate they were using magic to reverse emotions. AI that felt affection for each other became hatred, while hatred turned into concern. It seemed the condition to overcome the challenge was to do it together even if they hated each other. First everyone hated cockroaches, but because of the emotional reversal, now they found them beautiful. Emotions may be like that, but Hajime and everyone still fought to eliminate them as usual to survive. Overcoming the maze, everyone had to try to succeed in battle, while Kazu continued to compare himself to others. Tio remained composed, standing beside Kazu to explain not to let emotions control him. Instead, they must always fight to protect important people, as most of the monsters concentrated heavily on Hajime and Ju. Both were currently under emotional reversal, so their attacks were constantly aimed at each other. However, whenever monsters approached, both still found ways to protect each other. Ju needed time to prepare a high-level spell. While she focused on casting, Hajime would try to protect her from the monster's attacks. Now Hajime wanted to rest and regain his strength since the previous battle had pushed him beyond his limits. After returning to the forest, the chief's daughter eagerly cared for Hajime. Everyone sitting nearby could tell that the girl had some ulterior motive. Sia couldn't take it anymore and walked over to slap Atina. On the surface she looked like an innocent princess, but her underwear was nothing like that. Normally, people would worry about the princess, but her expression seemed a bit familiar. It seemed Sia was worried about the multiple adversaries appearing around Hajime. However, she doesn't need to worry, because Hajime considers her a special part of the group now. That princess is definitely trying to provoke Sia not get close to Hajime. In fact, the princess just wants to be friends with Sia. She thinks that if she can get close to Hajime, Sia will definitely notice her. If Sia doesn't mind being friends, then she wants to play with Sia even more aggressively. It seems like Kaiji is concerned about Hajime saying Sia is special to him. Although he doesn't know if it's romantic feelings or not, Hajime wants Sia by his side. After hearing that, Kaiji made a decision and told Hajime to prepare himself. At this moment, Sia took the initiative to meet Hajime to ask about being considered special. He wouldn't try to ask how Sia feels. All this time he only knew Sia as someone he cherished and didn't want her with anyone else. As soon as he finished speaking, Hajime leaned in and gave Sia the most proper kiss since they started traveling together. Unexpectedly, while they were talking, the others were secretly watching from the side. Look, in fact, Hajime knew they were over there from the beginning, but there was nothing to hide. Besides, everyone present here has something to discuss with Hajime. They want Hajime to agree to team up to conquer the maze together. One member of the group wants to get stronger to convince his friend to come back. Hajime agreed, but if that person shows hostility, he'll shoot them on the spot. After conquering the final great maze, the group must stop by the beach to pick up Miu. At the same time, the demon army has prepared an army of beast zombies, a force combining human and demi-human bodies, creating greater strength. In part 3 of episode 10 today, Shizuku wakes up early to train while Hajime can't sleep. He didn't know if Shizuku was still affected by the battle as she was breathing heavily and acting strangely. Hajime approached, making her think she was about to be attacked, but he only borrowed her sword. With the evolution ability he just obtained in the maze, Hajime could improve it further. The next morning, everyone started moving towards the final maze. The Eternal Compass 9 could indicate the destination and distance, but it consumed too much mana. Earlier, Hajime had also modified everyone's weapons. Only Koki's weapon was just maintained because the Holy Sword balanced the power. They were still quite far from the maze, but they couldn't fly the aircraft through the snowstorm. Thanks to Hajime's equipment, everyone didn't feel cold when entering the snowstorm. Sia, distracted playing with the snow, fell into a deep pit. At this height, she couldn't die, so everyone jumped down together. After finding Saya, they continued to follow the compass. At that moment, Sia heard a noise nearby and a rabbit appeared. Shizuku couldn't hide her excitement when she saw it. As it got closer, Hajime chuckled and kicked it, killing it instantly. More and more rabbits appeared, and Hajime used his gun to take them down one by one. Although Hajime knew the creatures in front of him were monsters, they still didn't believe those rabbits could absorb heat from their targets. If you think they're cute and hug one, you're done for. Knowing they were monsters, it was still a bit scary to see Hajime effortlessly ripping their heads off. After moving for a while, they reached an area of the snowstorm. According to the Eternal Compass 9's guidance, they needed to head against the wind, and they needed to create a barrier to move forward. If they couldn't destroy the monster control stone, the monsters would keep appearing. The challenge of this floor was to destroy the armor to break the core. Before being exhausted by the monsters, Hajime had Koki's group destroy the magical core while he held back the surrounding monsters. Whenever they were in danger, Hajime also assisted without needing to look, continuously holding back and protecting them. To allow Koki to use his strongest attack, however, the attack only destroyed the outer armor and didn't damage its core. Before the monster could crash into the rock, Shizuku used her skill to destroy it and a door opened, allowing everyone to move through. Inside part BA of episode 11, the ice blocks. The interior looked quite similar to a mirror. Since entering, Koki had continuously heard something quite strange. But everyone didn't act, and Koki's words weren't lies, so Hajime began to pay attention. Currently, they were inside the Great Maze, so there was a high chance they were being interfered with the voice that Koki heard. Listening is part of the challenge. The deeper they go into the maze, the more they hear that familiar voice. It seems the voice inside their head is actually their own, which people usually don't hear. It's hard to recognize because it keeps saying words that strike straight at the heart, causing those entering the maze to waver. If one's mind isn't steady, the darkness in the heart will keep appearing more. After a while of moving, both reached the door to the next challenge, but of course passing through the gate wasn't easy. A monster was guarding it and they immediately attacked, but for some reason the attack flew straight towards Hajime. Just before attacking, he heard the whispers of someone. The whispers must have interfered deeply with their subconscious, causing them to attack randomly. This was not a magical effect, so it was very hard to break. Hajime had to use heavy artillery, but they kept appearing. From what Saya observed, the number had decreased by 1 compared to the initial, meaning each person in the group had to take down at least one, if not they would continue to respawn. Just as the attack went astray, Kazu asked Ju to switch to the monster after a while of fighting. Hajime's group also successfully defeated their monster. Now only Koki remained. The other two were still in battle, and after a moment they also successfully took down the monster. It took too much strength. Instead of resting, Hajime decided to continue moving through the gate, knowing something would happen but not expecting everyone to be separated. Hajime, the further he moved inside, the more he discovered a large rock in the basement. Looking into the shadow inside the rock, Hajime realized the person inside wasn't him. In episode 12, Hajime had guessed the challenge of the maze, so it wasn't too surprising to be able to converse with the shadow. The theme of the maze is overcoming one's own darkness. No matter how great the power is, if the mind is weak, it cannot prevail. Hajime thinks that the challenge of this maze is to ensure he isn't exploited by the gods. Then the shadow stepped out to fight, to see if Hajime can defeat himself, because the shadow is Hajime's, so the abilities and fighting style are quite similar. Besides, it constantly targeted the fears in Hajime's heart, questioning whether a killing monster like him hesitates, like Hajime, can live in Japan or not. He was also very happy to meet Ju. Even if abandoned there, he still had someone by his side continuously saying those words to shake Hajime's mind. However, as he approached, Hajime knocked him back. Those words truly define humanity. But currently, Hajime is a monster. No matter whether rejected or not, he still moves forward. Indeed, Hajime had made mistakes before. There was fear, but I overcame it with my will, surviving from the depths of the labyrinth. Those words didn't affect Hajime much. He recognized himself as a monster, yet many still loved him. The shadow couldn't understand why Hajime was so strong. If he could overcome his own emotions, the shadow grew weaker, but he still retained his original strength, questioning why he lost. In front of him was just a shadow created based on the information when entering the labyrinth. That means it hasn't changed in an hour, while he has grown stronger, so he has the advantage. Thanks to the shadow, Hajime realized there were many things about his own actions that needed correction. The shadow would always be the shadow. He couldn't defeat a real person. After successfully taking down his shadow, the next trial door opened. At the same time, Shizuku was fighting her own shadow. However, Shizuku couldn't beat the shadow and ended up injuring herself. It kept saying things Shizuku had tried to deny. If it weren't for the items Hajime gave her, she would have died a long time ago. Shizuku really wanted to wear cute outfits instead of being strong. She didn't want to wield a sword, but just wanted to play with dolls and wear cute accessories. When she arrived at the training room, she thought she had found her prince because she was treated like a girl. However, Koki only made the other girls jealous of her. He even questioned whether she was a girl or not. The words from the shadow shook Shizuku, making it hard for her to fight with all her strength. If Shizuku accepted defeat, she would be spared. The shadow had admitted to having feelings for Hajime, the one her best friend loved the most. Now Shizuku had completely crumbled but still wanted to keep living. Before the shadow could strike, Hajime appeared to stop it. He couldn't believe Shizuku let her own shadow torment her to this extent. In Part 2 Episode 13, Hajime destroyed the shadow's weapon. At the same time, he gave Shizuku a recovery drink. Previously, Hajime had defeated the shadow and moved toward the portal, but he didn't expect to end up here. If Shizuku couldn't win, he would lend her the new pink mask. He had evolved this mask, so just trying it on would reveal its capabilities. However, would she fight to the death? She would never wear this mask on her face. Hajime also explained that the shadow in front of her was just a negative version of herself. Her words seemed a bit heartbreaking, but they were also proof that she was facing herself. Don't take the shadow's words seriously. Just ignore them, Shizuku. Keep fighting with all your might, because with him here, she wouldn't be afraid of getting killed. After regaining her composure, Shizuku returned to the fight against herself. She would try to survive and get out of here to meet everyone working to catch the attention of the one she liked. Shizuku focused on a single strike to annihilate her shadow, her negative self. After this, Shizuku would no longer hide her feelings but approach Hajime. She no longer has the strength to walk on her own, so she wants Hajime to carry her to the new challenge. Shizuku also asked Hajime to make her a hair accessory that has the ability to automatically heal. It seems that the recent battle helped her realize and change many things, and Hajime followed Shizuku's request. He created a cute hairpin that can heal physical wounds while being carried by Hajime. While being carried on his back, Shizuku showed off her calloused hands from wielding a regular sword. Girls usually have very soft hands. Not like this. For others it might be different, but Hajime found them very beautiful. Shizuku was eager to see everyone again to declare that she liked him. She didn't know how they would react to hearing that directly. At this moment, Suzu was also struggling to face her inner darkness. Even though she struck straight at her mind, the shadow didn't grow stronger but instead weakened. Suzu did not run away but accepted her mistakes to reflect on herself. After that, Suzu focused on her final blow to eliminate her darkness. Unexpectedly, each challenge room is connected. As long as you complete it, you can move on to the next room. When Suzu and Jutazo moved to the next room, they saw Tio fighting her shadow. Initially, Tio hadn't used her full strength to test herself, but now she would eliminate it completely. In episode 14, Jo was still fighting her shadow. Even the shadow showed Jo images of when she was still a princess. After returning from the battlefield, Jo wanted to have lunch with her uncle. However, if it wasn't for an order, he wouldn't stay and would have to go deal with other matters. After Ju-E became queen, she was attacked by her uncle with a direct stab without hesitation, but he didn't tell her the reason. The shadow continually showed Ju-E those images to shake her mind. However, Ju-E maintained her composure and made the shadow grow weaker. If it weren't for her uncle's betrayal and the seal under the dungeon, she would never have met the one she loves. Even if given the choice to return to the past, she would still choose to stay in the present. As for Sia, she didn't face much difficulty and defeated her own shadow. Sia knew very well that she could never replace the past. She could only carry the burden and move forward. She promised herself that she would fight to protect the ones important to her. This is a challenge to overcome oneself, but Sia had already surpassed it long ago. Sia ran through the door and unexpectedly arrived at Zoe's challenge. Suddenly, Zoe said that if anything happened to her in the future, she wanted Sia to take care of Hajime. Sia angrily slapped Joe's face and told her to take back what she just said. Sia didn't know what Joe's darkness had said, but those words just now were from weaklings. Ju-E knows never to say weak words like that. What Deputy Hajime said in the future is just like saying there's no Ju-E there. How could Sia possibly stay silent and accept a future like that? At this moment, Kaoji is still fighting with her shadow. The shadow continuously used hurtful words, but Kaoji remained unaffected. Just as he was about to land the decisive blow, Joe and Sia unexpectedly appeared. It seems the two had a quarrel, which is why they ended up here. In a fit of anger, Sia called Joe a princess weak dragon and flat-chested too. Then Joe and Sia started to fiercely argue until they wrecked the room. Sia didn't want to accept the previous request because she wanted everyone to stay together. Joe finally came to his senses, leaving the past behind and moving forward. Kauji sat beside wondering if the room was wrecked enough to be considered a breakthrough. In part BA of episode 15, Koki is still fighting against the SAO version. Every time Koki denied the question from the SAO version, its power increased. In Koki's heart, he had always been jealous of Hajime's strength. Only by defeating Hajime can he prove himself as a hero. If he keeps acting this foolishly, the other person will leave. Not just Kauji, but Shizuku also likes Hajime. No amount of yelling will change the fact that Shizuku likes Hajime. The shadow exploited the fact that Hajime was carrying Shizuku to attack Koki's mind. Immediately, Koki rushed to attack Hajime. Based on his expression and actions, Koki was subdued by the shadow. The girl thinks that the girls around her are just brainwashed. If he kills Hajime, it will free them. Hajime created a temporary barrier for Shizuku to wake up to advise that guy. After understanding everything, Shizuku tried to dissuade Koki. However, Koki insisted that Shizuku and everyone were being brainwashed by Hajime. After defeating Hajime, he would save the world along with the girls. The shadow held Shizuku back for Koki and Hajime. Although Shizuku was being attacked by the shadow, Koki believed that the SAO version wouldn't kill her. Hajime knew that scolding those thick-headed guys was a waste of time, but he still said that AI allowed Koki to call his person's name. Hajime immediately kicked Koki hard, then the shadow rushed to Koki to lend him strength. They thought combining their powers would defeat Hajime, but unexpectedly they were pushed back instead. Hajime was holding back because if he killed him, the others would be sad. At that moment, everyone had finished and moved on to Koki's challenge. Hajime briefly explained that he had let the SAO version get the upper hand. Hajime really wanted to help Koki wake up and defeat the SAO version, but it seemed impossible. With no other options, Hajime had to restrain him and eliminate the SAO version. It seemed Koki wasn't fully awake yet, so Hajime punched him in the face. If Taoji wants to treat Koki, a gentle approach would be fine. I wonder if the troubles will lessen once he wakes up. Koki failed the challenge, denying reality and directing his anger at Hajime, so when he wakes up that thought won't change. In the end, everyone passed except for him. As long as he's alive, Koki can try as many times as he wants. Just then Shizuku approached, thanked Hajime, and gave him a kiss. However, no one hated Suzu because she always acted for everyone and is now living true to herself. Shizuku declared her feelings for Hajime and tried to achieve what she wanted. At that moment, everyone was transported to the palace, the deepest part of the maze in the final episode of BA. As soon as they entered the maze circle, Hajime and Jue suddenly felt pain. The people around felt confused but didn't dare to intervene. When Hajime woke up, he saw Ju sitting above him. She had just woken up too and didn't know where everyone was. They both intended to lie together a little longer, but unexpectedly, everyone was standing next to them and just seeing the clothes not fully buttoned told them everything. The young man just glanced at Ju and was hit in the face by a stone thrown by Hajime. Back in the present, everyone wanted to know what happened that made both of them faint. To put it simply, their souls and minds had overworked, causing their bodies to give out. This also means that Hajime and Ha successfully learned the self-concept spell, but they still can't return to Japan because they need to master all the ancient magic. If they don't conquer the entire maze successfully, they will definitely be overwhelmed by the incoming information. Additionally, the most important material to turn concepts into spells is maximum willpower, but no matter how difficult it gets, they still have to push through. Hajime and Shu will begin experimenting with new magic. During that time, Hajime asked everyone not to let that guy wake up and cause trouble. After this is over, Taoji will go with the hero group to the demon territory to find his friend. If Suzu goes in there alone, she will face many challenges. Tio will also return to the Dragon Man village before heading to Hajime's world. At this moment, Koki has also woken up after taking a full punch from Hajime. Shizuku wants to know if Koki still doubts everyone about being brainwashed by Hajime. Meanwhile, Shizuku confessed her feelings for Hajime and wants to be seen as a woman. It seems Koki still hasn't shaken the thought that Hajime is a cold-blooded killer. Even if he knew there would be such a strong opportunity, he wanted to be the one to fall off the bridge. Just then, a loud noise came from Hajime and Ju's room. Even though they didn't know what was happening, it seemed both of them were still fine, so everyone went back to the room. However, before they could leave, a memory of Hajime from his first dungeon emerged. The image of Hajime being attacked by monsters, being eaten, and the fear he felt was very clear. However, he still refused to give up and tried to survive at all costs. Everyone watching couldn't believe Hajime had gone through such a horrific experience. After that, Hajime and Joe successfully created a key. Due to excessive mana consumption, both of them fainted. Although it wasn't a complete artifact yet, it had the power equivalent to a perpetual compass. Hajime immediately tested it and created a small space. The way home had been found, but they needed an artifact to prevent this world from pulling them back. On the way to pick up Miyu and her mother, Hajime would try to create an anti-summoning artifact. Meanwhile, Taoji and Suzu's group would head to the tree beach to tame some monsters. Io stayed behind to experiment with the dragon form combined with evolution magic. Sia didn't want to return home because she wanted to avoid the chief's daughter. After preparing everything, everyone moved to the riverbank. Suddenly, all the water sources froze and transformed into a giant dragon. Instead of being forced out of the maze, the dragon took everyone outside. Before returning to Japan, everyone had things they wanted to do. Dai was also looking forward to meeting Hajime's parents as a daughter-in-law. Well then, that's all for now. If you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to support me.